QuickBooks is committed to helping small businesses succeed no matter what comes their way. We've put together this live Q&A to connect small businesses like yours to experts who can help answer questions to help your business navigate today's environment. My name is Lynda Artesani, and I'm the owner of Artesani Bookkeeping, an accounting firm that works exclusively with attorneys and law firms. I'm also the co-creator of a Facebook group called QB Community Live. I'd like to introduce you to my partner today. She's on top of all topics, all things payroll, Sandy Edwards.
Hey, thanks, Lynda. Hi, everybody. I'm Sandy Edwards, and I'm one of the product leaders here at QuickBooks Online Payroll, and I'll be helping Lynda answer some of your great questions today.
So if you want to see more Q&As like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button or follow us. As small business owners and self-employed individuals, it's that time of the year that we close the books and prepare payroll for tax season, and it can get a little bit confusing. Changes in codes can result in process changes, and it's not always easy to navigate where we are here. That's why we're here today, to answer your payroll questions and help you prepare the books for tax season. Before we start, don't forget to submit your payroll questions in the chat or comments section. QuickBooks ran a poll asking what year-end payroll questions keep you up at night. We hear you loud and clear that you're most interested in learning about 1099s, W-2s, of course, 1099s, right? Sunday, and employees versus contractors. So let's get started. Our first question is from Jason. How do I figure out what to withhold? That's a good question, actually, because right now, this is the time of the year that we should be really, as accountants and bookkeepers, reaching out to the employees that in the firm we work with and giving them a new W-4. And a lot of times I'll get that form back and they'll say to me, they'll say, I don't know how to fill this form out. Like, right, Sandy, like, how do I fill it out? What do I do for figuring out how to calculate it?
So that's a common question right now.
It totally is. So a lot of times there's actually a calculator that Intuit had that you can, they might be able to link to that would help you kind of figure it out. I, for example, I do yoga on the side. It's my other side gig job, my fun job that I like to just do to kind of balance out my brain. And a lot of times I make that extra income, and it's a 1099 income that I get, and I don't have any taxes taken out. So I have to add an extra like $50 a week towards my withholding. I live in Florida, so state withholding, and that helps me be able to put that money away, because you don't want that surprise at the end of the year. You don't want to be doing your tax return and your tax professional says, here, Lynda, you owe $30,000. I don't want to see that, but I also don't want to say, hey, I got a refund for $5,000, because I don't want to let the IRS have money of mine that I've overpaid and then no interest. So why do that? What do you think, Sandy?
I was going to say the other thing that's been really complicated too is the IRS just changed the W-4, and so it's not near as easy as it used to be. Lynda, so I'm sure you're experiencing this too. It's complicated, right? And there's a worksheet you need to fill out, and so we get a lot of questions around that change too.
Yeah, it is different, definitely different. We get another question from Zinda. What is a 1099? So a 1099 is a form that we're all going to have to file. And I've been getting, I try to prepare at the end of the year. I try to go and maybe figure out who usually I do them for and who does them with the tax professional. And then I reached out to them all in December and said, hey, kind of preliminary list. And everybody ignored me for the most part. A couple people didn't. And now it's like, I think you guys, I actually think Intuit sent out a note, because I got that
or something. Yeah.
Saying it's 1099 season. And I'm like, all of a sudden now you're interested. So now they're sending me back these, they want to know, they don't even know who do you send them to, what, do I need to send them? And it's more confusing this year because of the NEC. So we've got the NEC form, which is a form that I like to tell people back in my day, we used to have that form in the 80s. It's just, for it's for when you have a person that works for you, more just for the what's the word?
Non-employee compensation.
Thank you. So
non-employee compensation.
Yeah. So that is just for that one part of what you need a 1099 for. But there's obviously the miscellaneous form, which it was all combined on last year. You have just two forms. So those people go on that one form. And then you've got, of course, the other one that has rents and payments to attorneys and all sorts of things like that.
Yep. And there's a limit, right? If you don't have a certain amount of non-employee compensation, you don't need to send a 1099. So sometimes we get questions around why you don't get a 1099 because you're under the limit. So it's a hot topic right now.
that's $600. And also, like, we just had a conversation when we work hand in hand with some of the law firms where we work with the person that's going to actually do that 1099 processing. And she's like, what do you mean if they paid me on a credit card? So it can get really complicated and complex, which is also between the deadline is freaking everybody out and then all the other complex issues. We kind of walk her through that. We get another question from Monique, and it says, does QuickBooks send taxes to the state automatically for a business throughout the year? Yes. Yes. That's why we love QuickBooks Payroll. If you have QuickBooks Payroll, that's the key. QuickBooks doesn't do
Online payroll.
Online payroll, right? So that's full service, right? So I'll let you take this one, Sandy, because you are the guru on this kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is my baby. I love this one. So currently, all of our payroll services that we offer online are called full service, which means we automatically pay all the taxes for you and file all the forms for you, right? And I think it's a huge benefit. Before, we used to have a product that was more do-it-yourself and then an upper product that was full service. And we found customers really don't want to do taxes on their own. They really would prefer us to do it for them. And it makes such a huge difference in their peace of mind and their confidence to know that we're doing it for them automatically. And so all of our products, we automatically file all your state and federal taxes for you. And if you have local taxes, premium and elite, our upper two SKUs will also do that for you automatically.
And I'll tell you, for me as an accountant, especially being a cloud accountant, right? We all want to be cloud accountants who can work with people all over the United States. I can't know all the rules of everyone. So having a payroll service, and I can tell people, sometimes I'll have a client say, well, why can't you just do it? And I'll just say to them, look, I can get it done for you cheaper because my hourly rate is a lot more than what they're going to charge you to do it. And it's just one more thing off my plate. The thing I love about using QuickBooks Online Payroll is auto payroll. I love auto payroll. I work obviously with attorneys. There's a lot of salary going on and I can set it and forget it, which is one of my favorite features, besides the fact that you guys do all the taxes. We actually had a desktop client that she was on desktop. We converted her, migrated her to QuickBooks Online, and we're trying to get her into QuickBooks Online Payroll. And she's having a hard time wrapping her head around the fact that the taxes are done. Like, she's been so used to doing all that. She's like, what do you mean they're going to do the tax return? And I think she's a little nervous. She's going to have to wait to see that populate because it sits inside of QuickBooks, which is why I like using QuickBooks Online, because it's inside the platform. You don't have to navigate to another website.
Yeah, it can be a paradigm shift for some customers, so that's great.
Exactly. So let's give a shout out to Dennis Brown. I'll let you shout out. Say hi, Dennis.
Shout out to Dennis. Hi, Dennis.
Hi, Dennis. We get another question from Danny. And it says, what is the differences between 1099 employees versus W-2 in a skill trade? So I worked with a lot, before I started working with attorneys, I worked with a lot of contractors. And even like a home remodeler where we had staff that would do painting and things like that. But then we would have to hire, an electrician, for example, a tradesman. They didn't work for us. They had their own company and they were, they might be like self-employed or have an LLC. And you need to get that W-9 form filled out for them. It's not a fun time to go scrambling for that now. You want to be getting that information so that you know when it's 1099, you've got the information that you need, like Social Security number, FEIN, know their entity. They're going to fill that out on the form so that way you'll know, because some LLCs act as S Corps, so you want to see exactly what that is so you can send them that 1099 because you're paying for their services. And they are not an employee. They don't work for you. They have their own, they basically have their own tools and materials. You don't tell them what day to work. They will tell you once you have a contract with them. So that's kind of the way to separate it. Obviously, an employee comes into work. You tell them what time to go. You tell them where to go. Makes a total difference. That makes somebody an employee. Our next question is from Jamie. I've already e-filed the 1099s, but I need to add an additional contractor. Can I do that? What do you think, Sandy? You got this one?
No, I think this one's definitely in your area of expertise. I know we can do it, but I think this is a great one.
When you've already e-filed it, you can do it. It's a little bit, you have to go back into the form. So if you've already e-filed it, I believe, and I'm not going to tell you exactly on this, I just e-filed a whole bunch of them, but you can do it on QuickBooks Online. From the payroll menu, you have to select contractors and then choose prepare 1099s. If the contractor is not added yet, you add them first. Make sure you go into that page. I did that a few times. Make sure all the information's in. Make sure that you have in the address, the company name, everything that you need, because you'll be going bebopping back from the pages there. And then, choose to prepare the 1099 if the contractor's not been added, to do that part. And then once it's been added, you can complete the flow and you should be all set. So it's very simple to go back in and just make that adjustment.
Yep. Awesome.
Stevie says, what's the difference between a 1099 miscellaneous and an NEC? Well, we kind of touched upon that a little bit, but for sure, the miscellaneous form has a bunch of other places that you can fill out. Box 1 in particular is pretty much the box that you'll find that you have a lot of varying things on it. That is definitely an area that you want to make sure that you separate them, right? So you're, like I talked about the electrician, that would fall into the NEC box. So that's a whole different form now, they've separated. So you want to make sure that you have that form for those type of contractor type of people that you've paid out. Also, if you pay them by credit card, you don't have to do that. Like we mentioned before, that's important. So when you start to get into doing 1099 miscellaneous, I don't know if we've got a way that we can link back to that, but you want to look at the form itself. The IRS.gov has a great website where you can kind of go through all the different things. Rents, you send rents to your landlord. If you've paid us over a certain amount, you send that. You have to send a 1099 to the landlord. Attorneys, if you paid a lot of money to an attorney, you send one to the attorney. So there's a lot of different ways you have to do that, and those would be under the miscellaneous form. So there's definitely differences. Most of you will probably be working with the NEC form and not the miscellaneous, but sometimes that you would fall into doing both. And Monique has a follow-up. So we need a 1099 for the person that puts up our storefront sign, paints the inside, etc. Well, that would be the NEC form that you would use for that. You would not be using the miscellaneous. Mm-hmm. Demetrius says, what's the most efficient way to pull vendors over that paid over $600 in QBO? I like to run the expenses by vendor summary report. Obviously, if you've been booking them in the whole time into your, as you pay them, you've been booking them into like the contractor, and then you can run that contractor right off the profit and loss, just open up that transaction. There's also a report right inside of QuickBooks that will pull that up if you go into the 1099 section. I like to do a double check though. I don't want to miss anybody. So I will go through the expenses by vendor summary report and kind of sort through it and look and see what other payments I've made out, just so I don't miss somebody that maybe I accidentally coded in the wrong category that may fall under that veil of a 1099 miscellaneous form or a 1099 NEC form. And Jessica says, what does QuickBooks show a breakdown of what I'm paying when I pay employees, such as a breakdown of wages, payroll fees, Social Security, insurance, etc.? Sandy, you got this one.
Yeah, that's good. We have a variety of payroll reports that'll show all that information. Employee detail is a great one. Payroll summary by employee is a great one. The tax and wage base explains all the tax bases and all the withholding. So there's a variety of really great reports inside QuickBooks Online Payroll that should give you all that information for each employee. You can customize it for time frame, by the year, by the quarter, for last pay period, anything like that.
And you can actually pull up on the check register. You can actually, into the employee section, you can actually pull the employee paycheck up and pull that right up on the screen. I kind of like to, when you're going through the payroll, you can preliminarily look at the check to make sure it looks okay. So you didn't type in, maybe if you gave somebody a bonus, you make sure it kind of looks okay. I like that step too. But yeah.
Yeah, that actually brings up a great reminder of like why it's great to use QuickBooks Online Payroll right inside QuickBooks. Lynda, I've heard you talk about this all the time, but you can go straight from your general ledger, click into your payroll expenses and go all the way to the paycheck and pull up right there the withholdings and then net pay for that employee. And you don't have to go to a different system to do that.
It's true. Like that's the thing, that when you do use the other payroll services, you have to go out to the other website. And a lot of times they're like, why can't I see my payroll here? And I'm like, well, we had to push a journal entry in, where if you have QuickBooks, it's right inside the platform. So you just click over to payroll and it's there, which is probably my biggest selling feature when I do sell it with clients. Susan says, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I know, me too, Susan.
Me too.
Tips for preparing my business for tax season. So preparing the business for tax season, I don't know if this is in regard to payroll, but for payroll, there's like a year-end checklist that's right inside of QuickBooks. So if you
click the compliance tab now, so you can go right to the compliance tab. All the information is right there for your and for your checking your W-2s and being ready for year end, and all that's right there. So
it's so easy. So you just click in there, and if you're using QuickBooks Online Payroll, and I think even if you don't use it, right on those tabs in there, or is it just if you have activated payroll? I'm not sure.
If you activate payroll, the compliance tab, the HR tab, benefits tab, that all shows up. Otherwise, it's just a payroll tab until you activate with us.
And that's the thing too, like you're mentioning the HR and things like that, like workers' comp and all that, that's included. Those are things that are part of payroll. If you go into the higher SKUs, if you get into the premium or the actually they're in the elite too. Yeah. And the one thing I like with elite, and I try to sell that to the clients that I work with because they're more mid-market, they might need that HR person that is the person that they can directly pick up the phone and call. And if they're managing multiple employees, having that person to talk to makes a huge difference for them, so that they can just make the phone call and not have to go through the call system or whatever, which right there is big. And you want to be compliant as a, they come to us when they have those kind of questions, and then to have that ability. I can't be the HR person and the accountant. I mean, they ask us a lot of questions as accountants already that I'm like, I don't know if this falls under the scope of being an accountant, but for certain, if you can get that part offloaded to a professional that has right down to like your book that you can have, your employee handbook, those things are really have a huge value. And then you can also get into like 401ks too, right, Sandy?
Yep, 401ks are another big part. Health insurance, different benefits. All of our products now offer integrated health insurance benefits. And again, like a lot of the questions that we're answering today also are able to be answered through the HR system, right? The things about whether this is an employee or W-2 employee or 1099, things about wages and labor laws and stuff like that. They're a personal advisor for you to call up and ask all your questions too, if you have a lead. So.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the wages, and I mean
they're really good at that stuff too.
And so Donna says, I love the new payroll. Can I switch a QBO client from QuickBooks Desktop to do it yourself?
Yeah. So we're in the process of doing that, right? It's going to happen automatically for you, and so you'll get different emails and alerts, and we'll let you know when your number's up and it's time for you to move. We are very sensitive right now to the economic impact and like what's happening for our customers around COVID right now, and so we want to make sure we're doing it in a time that works for them. But we'll be in touch. There's lots of resources out there on our payroll pages that also answer more questions, so we can share some of that in the comments afterwards.
Yeah, perfect. So Dave says, what are the most common mistakes you see with clients at this time of the year? Oh, that's a good one, Dave. A lot of times I've seen some pretty bad, sometimes I'll see, it's not so much with payroll, but with payroll, probably my biggest pain point is if I take on a new client and I find that they're an LLC that acts as an S Corp and they didn't pay themselves. That's probably been the worst one that I can think of. And then we have to do some creative transactions. I've had some that have actually had payroll and not paid themselves a reasonable compensation. So that can become an issue. They might have taken a bunch of draws, and then we have to do, again, some creative things. I think that the most common mistakes would be that. As far as payroll, though, as it goes,
I think for us, it's W-2 corrections, right? Them not realizing until after the W-2s are submitted that they missed a bonus, or they're in the wrong state, and an employee moved states partway through the year and they didn't record that. So they've been withholding the wrong taxes throughout the year. And that means that they have to do corrections, and it can be a little messy to clean up. But if you contact us, we are pretty good at helping you out with that stuff. So.
And yeah, I forgot about that when you have those bonuses that you're like, what is this? And they'll say, oh, I bonused out the employees and I just wrote them a check. And you're like, right. You're going to put it through payroll? But yeah, that's what you want to say.
Nope. Right.
Exactly. And those are more like when I find those, Dave, I find those when I find a new client that comes to me in January, that's like I have a messy file. If I'm working with a client during the year, we're touching their file at least weekly. So we see those things and we'll ask right then and there and try to get it corrected before year end. But it makes it definitely more complex if it's past year end. Sean says, thanks for the live feed. So for a 1099, should I 1099 my landlord when we rent space for my business? Yes, that would be a 1099 miscellaneous form that you'd be sending to your landlord if you're, I'm guessing that if my landlord, so if you're paying the rent and it hits that threshold, you have to send them a 1099 miscellaneous form. And then John B says, I'm using payroll. How do I know which payroll version I'm using, and how do I know if I'm using the one I need?
That's a great question. So the first part of the question is easy, right? You could go inside in your gear icon on the top right, and you can go to settings and you find billing account and services.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can see whether you're enrolled in Payroll Core, QuickBooks Online Payroll Core, Premium or Elite, or potentially, if you signed up a couple of years ago, either Enhanced or Full Service. About figuring out which one you need, I think that's a more detailed conversation. I think that might be an interesting topic potentially for another day on another live feed. If other people are interested in that, we could leave a comment and let us know they're interested in that. And I think that would be a fun one for Lynda and I to cover.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think when it comes to need, they're all full service. So it's just if you need all the extras. I find the smaller firms would go mostly with the core program. If you got the small person just starting with payroll, I do the core, and the premium's kind of that in-between place.
Yeah.
I like, because of Elite has the onboarding, I kind of like the Elite for that too, because you guys do the onboarding, so I don't have to do it. And then
a big thing for premium is T-sheets, right? If they have hourly employees and they need time tracking, T-sheets is the way to go, because it again lets you connect your time tracking straight into your payroll and automate the entire flow.
Yes, exactly. So Danny says, if equipment was owned before filing an LLC, who files the depreciation, or do you sell it to the business LLC? So that's interesting. So if you own the equipment and its startup cost, you would want to put that in an LLC. If you're an LLC, it's really the same as, being a sole owner. Who files the depreciation? Yeah, that would be a tax professional question. I mean, I don't want to really answer this without seeing your records and then seeing the tax.
That's a complicated one.
To know exactly what your entity is, if you're an LLC that acts as an S corp or things like that. Nikki says, is there a way we can set payroll taxes to come out weekly and then run the payroll? And when we run the payroll, instead of paying it once a month, so they want to pay their taxes weekly instead of weekly.
Yeah. So right now, for us, that's not an option right now. I think it would love if other people are interested in that, definitely comment, because I think that's a great thing to know from a product perspective. For us in QuickBooks, one of our key tenets is keeping money in our customers' pockets. And so we try to make sure that we allow you to hold on to that money as long as possible, so that you're earning interest and that you have it for cash flow reasons, and that we pay it to the agencies when it's due. But again, if you're interested, definitely comment and we can take a look at that.
And Nikki, you could also, if you have it that way, you could also, there's no problem with opening up a savings account at the same bank and just transferring it over and then putting it back if you need to, if you don't want to see it in the account. Hopefully, if you have payroll, you have a separate payroll account, but I know some firms don't. They do everything out of operating. But yeah, you could do kind of almost like a profit first kind of a method. And we actually do have that QuickBooks Capital account, that QuickBooks Bank rather, that has the ability to do that. Yeah, to have that the pocket way. Kelly says, if the landlord is a corporation, you don't need to have a 1099, right? I don't think you do, because it's the same thing as a 1099 form when it's a 1099 NEC, same kind of thing. I don't think you do have to. I'm not exactly positive on that, but I'm pretty sure you don't have to do that. And then do we have any more questions? Okay, Jason says, what's the easiest way to figure out the tax changes this year? Is this something I can go look? So there's been quite a few changes. A lot of it's due to COVID. So there's been a lot of changes in the tax code itself. I know one of the things is if you're older, you don't have to take the money out of your retirement fund. I'm trying to think of the other ones that are out there, but there's been quite a few changes. I know I go and follow the IRS's website to find all those things that are kind of changing, because that's really a great source of truth. Although I know that there's a lot of blogs and websites out there, but you know if you're reading it from the IRS, you're seeing exactly what it should be. You have anything to add to that, Sandy? I know not our.
Well, the first thing I'd say is it's not easy to read the IRS code. So even if you can read it, not always easy to understand it. But I think on the payroll side, and that's really, I think where I'll focus is, again, we've recently added a tab across the top beyond our employees, contractors, HR, benefits, that's for compliance. And all the resources we have and all the many updates that we make, I think we made something like 600 or 700 compliance updates going into this peak because of COVID. There's details there of each one, so you can learn more about each one, and just, again, know that we're taking care of that for you, so you don't have to worry about it, but you can see it all there for you.
I know a lot of those things came out on Friday night at 5 o'clock.
They always come out on Friday night at 5 o'clock.
Weekend, right? Why do they do that? But yeah, the compliance tab will tell you a lot. You could kind of bury your head into that section and be like reading every single thing that's come across.
Totally.
So yeah, so is there anything else you want to say, Sandy, that may have we want to add to this, to anything you want to say more about QuickBooks Payroll that might be important to share?
I think I'll close with thanks again for the many comments about how much you love it. Again, we have a new suite of payroll services out there right now that are all full service and have a lot of really awesome new features like auto payroll, HR, T-Sheets comes with it, automated taxes. And if you have any other questions, leave comments, or if you have any other ideas about features you want to see in the future, leave comments, and Lynda and I hopefully can host another one of these.
Follow up with you, exactly. And you know, if you start to look at QuickBooks Payroll, if you haven't looked at it for a while, I know a lot of people looked at it a long time ago and then didn't come back. Take a look at it. Take a look at the pricing. Take a look at it, because the pricing is monthly, and a lot of times when you look at, you're comparing the payroll program, the other payroll companies, it's actually more affordable because they'll do it by payroll run. So it's a little bit more expensive, and you don't really notice that when you start to do the math and realize that sometimes it's a really good benefit to go through QuickBooks. Plus, it's inside the platform. Yep. So thank you all for joining us today and for asking, really, like Sandy said, so many great questions. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up or follow us. If you want to see more live Q&As, let us know what you thought of today's Ask the Expert in the comments. And if you want to learn more about QuickBooks Payroll, just check out this website here. It's visit intuit.me QBP to learn more about QuickBooks Payroll. And on that note, Sandy, we'll just say goodbye.
I know. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you.